Kill him here, kill him here. This is where we win it. Super finisher! This is it, this is our time, this is our time, this is our time. They're melting on it, they're melting on it.
Hello Ellies and friends of Ellies. Hey, today I'm going to talk to you guys about fields, how they work with each other, the important spells or abilities within your different attunements, and why they're important. So, first of all, fields. So one of the things that I commonly see is someone will call for a static for swiftness, and like 10 statics will go down. First of all, how they work is it's the first field down, or the oldest, is the one that is going to react with whatever blast or projectile or ability that you're putting down on top of it. So what that means is if someone casts a fire field and then you cast a water on top of it, then when people go to blast that water, they're actually going to blast the fire field instead of the water, and you're not going to get the 100% out of that spell that you would have if people were able to blast it. So it's really something to pay attention to when you're dropping your fields, what you're dropping them on top of. Again, it can make a difference between your raid getting fully healed, or your raid going into a push with half health and just having a lot of people go down. So again, the first field, or the oldest field, is the one that's going to actually get blasted. Secondly, with my example of the static there, a lot of things, you really don't, and I can't think of any examples, but you really don't need more than one field. Maybe the exception is a geyser, which gives a nice little heal to it. But that static that you put down, if you put 2 statics down, you're not going to get any longer swiftness, or stronger abilities or anything. It's just going to blast the one static. So that other Ellie or whoever that dropped that other static now has a 30-second cooldown for absolutely no reason. So again, you can only blast one field at a time. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to fields is the fact that if your fields aren't called and nobody is able to react to them, then you're pretty much going to waste that field. So it's so incredibly important to call particular fields as you're casting them. That way you can get that 100%, 110% out of that field. If you can get 4 or 5 people blasting a water field, it's going to do a tremendous amount of healing for your raid and get everybody back at 100% and able to push over that opposing force. So very, very, very important to call your fields. A lot of Ellies don't, and this is a frustration for a lot of commanders, because it's just taking away something that's so incredibly important in the raid, which is that healing ability. So fields to call, and I'll go over these in a second in more detail, but basically you want to call your healing rain. Typically people call that as a big water. You want to call your geyser. You want to call your frozen ground, and that one's kind of optional. I'll talk about that in a second. You want to call your static. You want to call your meteor. And in some situations, you want to call your lava font, or I call it fire field, and again, I'll go into that. So that's part 1, kind of short and sweet. Again, in my next video, I'm going to go over more detail about the fields and how they work and stuff. So please look for that here shortly. And thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.